Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks. The only time black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. And if you want to make this voice louder and clearer, then what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, the PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate you.
Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Dennis Sperling, and I am back today, and I am very excited about the show that we have. And we are going to bring to you guys very soon Judge Vonda B from the TV show Support Court, and we are going to be talking child support with somebody who knows child support. Y'all always ask me about these damn child support questions. I don't have any answers for you, okay? I don't do that. Call me if somebody hits you from the back. I can help you get a check for that. But what I can't do is help you fight off your baby mama when you get a new girlfriend and she wants half of that check because what she's trying to mess up your good game you got going on. You trying to turn up at the club and she show up with the sheriff and the constable and give you that summons for subpoena and child support. That's not what I do, okay? But let me tell you this, man. Our special guest today, and this is somebody, unless you've been under a rock and you have not turned your Instagram or YouTube page on in the past month or two, you already know who this is. This beautiful young woman from Dallas, Texas. She's married, by the way, so don't start no trouble, right? But the bottom line is this is wonderful. And to you brothers out there who think you can't get a fair shake in court, I want you just to introduce you to the lady who needs no introduction. Let's just check this clip out right quick, man. I just think that it speaks for itself, and I'm gonna pull up the right one. We need to do it. Go ahead and let's get this.
Are you seeking any type of reimbursement from her on the health insurance?
No, I mean it's all in the past.
Okay. Well, you got really lucky,
Wow,
Mr. Schaefer.
that's not fair.
Yes, ma'am. In Texas, it goes back 4 years. Your child is 3. So with that calculation, it comes out to $14,204.16 to be paid monthly at an amount of $200. That makes your total child support obligation set at, well, I'm gonna make it $300 because $14,000 is a huge amount. So that makes your monthly child support obligation $694.56.
I got some bills that I can show you. I just can't afford that.
And you know what? He has bills that he can show me as well. And you have not done anything. And you're lucky that he cut you a break because I didn't have to let him do.
Woo! Smoking hot. That's just the warm up right there. This is the type of judge we got on the bench. Amen. Let's check a little bit more of this out.
5 years old, ma'am.
Is she paying anything in child support?
She's paying for the medical bills and she's paying for the support as well.
Medical support, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a reason why you're not paying to support this child?
First of all, I left my corporate paying job, and after our divorce, I know he mentioned I'm his wife. Correction, I'm his ex-wife.
Okay. Congratulations. Continue.
If anything else, you gotta love the attitude. So look, this is what we brothers look. You guys always say you don't get a fair shake in court. You say the judges don't understand where you're coming from. You say the judges, they always favor women. Clearly, this judge does not. And just in case you don't believe me, I got one more hot one for you.
How long ago did she stop working as a teacher? Was it recent?
Yes.
How recent?
6 months ago.
6 months ago?
Yeah.
No, ma'am. Your child support is going to be set at that $55,000.
No, ma'am.
Because it sounds like you are intentionally underemployed. So you do not have to pay a higher amount in child support. And that is ridiculous because you're not cheating her, you're cheating your child. So based on $55,000 a year, I have your gross at $4,583.33. Is there a reason your mouth is open? Do you need some water?
I just can't believe you're being so mean.
Oh, I'm not being mean at all, ma'am. You, on the other hand, are being mean. You deliberately stopped working. You have a master's degree and you went to a retail store so you would not have to pay for your daughter.
Well, that's my prerogative.
Well, you know, it is my prerogative to read these numbers out to you. Keep listening. So I have your net at $3,700.
Woo! See, that's smoking hot right there. See, a lot of you brothers don't feel that you can get a fair shake in court, but with judges like that, I mean, you know, without further ado, let's bring the honorable. Let's bring the Judge Vonda B, the internet's new favorite judge, onto the platform. Look, sister, let me tell you something. I tell these guys all the time. My favorite judges to appear in front of are African-American women because they're not beholden to white supremacy racism. They don't really care what the white boys have to say. And they aren't beholden to the old buddy black system that a lot of brothers are beholden to. And so they just really just get up there and tell it how it is. I started off in New Orleans because I graduated from Southern University Law Center. And so that kind of took me down to New Orleans. And that's filled with sisters, and it's just, I love it. You know, I've seen this demeanor before. One of my favorite judges here in New Orleans, here in Houston, is the Honorable Vanessa Gilmore, who is a federal court judge here in Houston, and she is no nonsense, and I love it, and I love that attitude. But Judge, go ahead and talk to us, introduce us to you, and you know, I know you're a favorite. I know they like that. I mean, brother, if you appreciate that sort of justice that the Honorable Judge Vonda B is giving out on her TV show Support Court, hit the #1 button if you appreciate that, because I do. It just warms my little heart. Amen. But go ahead, Judge Vonda B. The floor is yours, man. Tell us about yourself. Tell us how you got it. Just talk to us. Go ahead.
Hey, first of all, Dennis, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. Shout out to everyone watching it, all the supporters. I really appreciate you all. You know, Support Court literally started from a random idea. Like, I was watching TV one day. It was on a Saturday morning. And after People's Court went off, Couples Court came on. It was a husband and wife that were both judges, and they were talking to other couples that were in court. Kind of like couples therapy, right? And I said, People's Court, Couples Court, Paternity Court, Judge Judy, why isn't anybody talking about child support? Child support is the hottest topic ever. It's the most controversial area of the law, any area of law, right? Child support is it. So at the time I was advertising on primetime TV with Spectrum, and I went to the producers and I was like, hey, look, I had this idea for a courtroom-based TV show, you know, can you all produce it? And they're like, yeah, we already have the cameras and all of that. And literally, that's how Support Court got started.
Okay, well, you know, I want them to know a little bit about you. You're from Dallas. You're Dallas native, straight up out the D.
I am.
Managing partner at the law offices of VondaB PLLC. And let me see, you're a top-rated lawyer in Duncanville, Texas, which is basically, because I'm hood, so I know all the hoods between here and New York. Okay, so Duncanville is clearly hood is the front of a car, but either way, your practice advocates for the community and focus primarily on family law, including divorce, child custody disputes. And you basically you're a graduate of the Texas Southern University Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Woohoo! Shout out to my HBCU family. And let me see. And you're a mom. You have 2 beautiful children. Here's the thing, right? I'm a dad too. I could not think of not taking care of my children. Like, sometimes, you know, I saw your show. I paid my child support ahead of time. I ain't want no smoke. Like, let me go ahead and get this Texas. Let me pay this up. I can't think about not taking care of my kids. You know what I mean? But there are parents out there that don't. You know, and like, how does it hit you when they come in your court talking about, well, I ain't had no money, and you know what I mean? Or they give their kids to somebody else. I think there's a clip where a young lady had given her children to her sister and was talking about some Twinkies or some Little Debbie cakes or something like that.
Little Debbie snacks.
Yeah, you don't leave your emotions outside of the court. How do you go about controlling how you really feel and keeping it bound within the law? Like you want to, how do you balance that, Judge?
Well, so what I did was when I'm on my cases, I pay attention, sitting in court waiting, right? I'm paying
Yeah.
attention to how the litigants are acting, including my client. I'm paying attention to how the judge is acting. So that was another part of the educational tip I wanted to show people through my show. You, as a judge, you should be fair and impartial. You
Right.
should listen to everything someone says. I mean, we're human. Every now and then the judge would laugh at something somebody said or entertain it a little bit. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a full understanding of how the law works in Texas and how different scenarios can change and trigger different areas of the law, so you can see, depending on this set of facts, this could happen. No one case is ever the same. So I wanted to make sure that when I was bringing light to these cases that I either observed personally, working on those cases, or I sat in court and watched them. I wanted to play out those scenarios so people can see, like, these are the things that you need when you come to court. These are the things that you need to leave behind when you come to court. The attitude, bringing other people to court with you, getting an attitude with the other person, the judge, just those type of things. They do not need to exist in the courtroom. And the role of the judge is extremely important because you're essentially being that gatekeeper, right? You can't take the side of neither person, because then when you start taking sides, you're no longer impartial. You become partial at that point. And I think that as a judge, and I mean, you probably seen it where judges have taken on, that role, and it seems like they're being partial to one side or the other. Those rulings are never really in the best interest of the children.
Judge, I mean, here's the thing. There are a lot of black men, especially, who say that, when they go to court, the judge doesn't want to listen to them. They always give the children to the mom, and they don't want to hear what they have to say. I tell them, well, the first thing you need to do is hire a lawyer. Don't go in there by yourself.
Correct.
And if you go in there with a lawyer, then if you go in there fully ready the first time, oftentimes it works out. You can handle it out right there. Now, what do you think about men who say, well, the system is just unfair to men? You give it to the ladies too. You hit them with the smackdown. We have proof. You see what I mean? So what advice do you give to them in preparation for going to court? Because I don't want to see men I love my kids, and I don't know what my life would be like if I didn't have the quality time that I have with my kids. A lot of these men want to spend time with their children, but the women are in the way. What advice do you give them in preparation for going to court, coming from the position as a judge and a litigant?
First thing that I would say is let's start with being the litigant, right? It is important that you have documentation, if possible, right? But I also want to make sure that I stress that testimonial evidence is still evidence. People have this idea that, I have to have something in a document, and if I don't have it in a document, I can't discuss it in court. That's far from the truth. You are, they tell you to raise your right hand. You're swearing under oath that you're giving testimony that is truthful. So your testimony is evidence. I would also recommend, though, if you're able to get someone outside of yourself to back up what it is that you're saying, that would be great. So if you can get a teacher, a police officer, the child's counselor, the family counselor, whoever else you can get that can help you with whatever it is that you're trying to get the judge to see on your case, make sure you properly subpoena those people, have them come to court. Obviously, get an attorney, right? Because you and I both know being an attorney is very difficult to, and sometimes, right, find witnesses, subpoena witnesses, do all of those type of things. So it's best if you get an attorney to do it. Another thing I would advise a lot of men to stop doing is venting on social media. It's
Speak on
okay.
it. Say it again for the people in the back.
I would highly recommend for men to stop venting on social media. Why am I saying that? Everything you put on social media can potentially be evidence in court. Everything. It could be something as small as, saying, my baby mama won't let me see my kids, and that's okay. I got her. I'm gonna handle her. Well, you're leaving that into interpretation, right? For a judge to possibly think you may do harm to her. And she may even go there and say, you know, he's threatened me in the past, and try to use that to say that you will be a threat not only to her, but to the child. Don't set yourself up like that. Document what you need to document and take her to court. Let the judge handle it. That's coming from a litigant standpoint. I think that is the two things that I have personally seen in ways I think that men go wrong in child support court. Well, three things. Number one, they don't document. Men typically are not the documenting type. You know, they'll try to go off memory with some stuff, or I give a cash app, that should be sufficient, right? Mm-hmm. No, you don't document. Another thing that I think men go wrong is they go into child support court without an attorney. And the third thing that I see men do is venting on social media. Like I said, it can be detrimental to your case later on. With the judges are looking for very specific things. If it comes to child support, they're looking for, you know, have you supported this child in the past? Well, first, how old is this child? Have you supported this child in the past? And if you have, in what ways did you do it? Did you send cash out to mom? Were you giving her cash directly? Were you sending her a cashier's check? You know, were you doing a Venmo? What's the other one? The Zelle. They want to know, how were you supporting this child in the past? They want to know, you know, if the child has been living with you at some point. That's important. And that's another thing that guys don't necessarily document and take note of. A lot of these children are living with dads. And then at some point they may end up back with mom, but dad isn't documenting when the child started living with them and when they stopped living with them. So you're not able to get what's called a possession credit for the time that the child lived with you. These are all things that the judge needs to see. They need to see that the child is covered on health insurance. I know in a lot of the episodes, you know, you hear me talking about Medicaid and everything like that. People think that this is free. Medicaid is health insurance. It is not. If you are placed on, if your child is on Medicaid in Texas and you are placed on child support, you have to repay back the money that was used on that child for Medicaid. You have to pay that back directly to the state of Texas, right? So it's nothing free about that. If you have access to private health insurance through your employer, or you can get some insurance through an independent source, do it. It is going to be much cheaper than borrowing from the state. So these are just some, you know, little things that judges need to see, as well as litigants need to do in preparation of court.
And so I want to kind of clean it up, because there's so much in there. I want to unpack it. Basically, what Judge Vonda B is saying is that normally out of court statements are not allowed to be brought into the court. But if you say something on your verified account, all they got to do is say, is this your Facebook account? This your Instagram account? Did you say you was going to go upside her head because your baby wasn't there? Okay, that is called an admission against interest. That falls under Rule 804, Part 3, Section A. And what that means is the judge can admit that into the court and read it. That is, Tyrone Jenkins said he was going to go upside Keisha's head on November 3rd, 2020, because his baby wasn't there. And now she's in court saying she's afraid of you because you're violent. And then they got your own statement saying that, basically supporting what she says. And so the judge is like, well, you admitting that you this guy. You can come in here denying all you want, but before you knew that you were going to be in here, bam, this is what you were saying. So that's why you have to be careful of the things you say. One thing you guys notice about me is, and the reason most of you guys say he's a great father, all you ever see me doing is putting pictures up of me and my kids, the different places we go, the vacations we go to. I always refer to my wonderful ex-wife as a lovely, wonderful human being that I will never say anything bad about, even though we are currently embroiled in a child custody suit right now. Amen. But I still would never say anything bad, because that could be used against me. All right. And the other thing and this is a systematic thing that I appreciate you bringing this up. A lot of you guys think there's this $1 billion that Black men owe in child support. Right? Like, wow, how can we owe that much money? Because a lot of these ladies, even though you're not paying them child support, they name you as the father. and then you become responsible for that Medicaid or Medicare bill, which is all throughout the United States. See, the government wants their money back. They're not taking care of your baby. They wasn't there when you conceived that baby after you left the club and you had that shot, them shots of Brown, and she had that Zinfandel. Okay, they wasn't there. They didn't. Why should we have to? I'm a taxpayer. I don't want to pay for your baby. I love you and your baby, but y'all need to take care of each other over there. My taxes are too high already. Okay, so this is what they're saying, and so what the judge is saying is, if you could get health insurance for a couple of $100 a month, then you should do that instead of letting Medicare do it, because they're gonna basically charge you what they want. Is that fair? Is that a pretty accurate assessment, Your Honor?
That is a very pretty accurate assessment.
What? No. So here's the other thing I need to ask you, Judge. Like, a lot of the brothers, man, they just afraid to go to the. I understand. Like, you know, we have not had the best relationship with the judicial system from the 13th Amendment, you know, to we brothers is hesitant about it. You might have a warrant. You ain't trying to go down there, you know, then you get arrested. So what do you do to tell them to get over that? Like, I mean, get a lawyer, pay for it up front. You won't have to pay for it. How do you convince them to hire a lawyer? Or is that something that we should even have to do? What are your thoughts? How do we do that?
And I think that for men in particular, since that's who we're talking about, make sure that your closet is clean. And what do I mean by that?
Give me some examples of some dirty closets and bones falling out. It's like, oh, you didn't say that. You didn't tell me about that. Let's hear some examples. Don't name names, but let's hear some examples.
Make sure your closet is clean. What do I mean by that? Make sure you do not have warrants, right? Because even though you may have a traffic ticket and it's a warrant that is in a neighboring county or whatever the case may be, I have seen mothers go to the bailiffs in the courtroom and let them know that their child's father has an existing warrant. That bailiff can then go look it up, check, and guess what happens as soon as that hearing is over? You get arrested. I have seen it happen on a number of occasions. So make sure your business is taken care of. Don't come in court with outstanding warrants. Make sure that if you are dating somebody who is in, you know, trouble themselves,
oh, you mean he got the dope under the bed? Is that what you're talking about? He got dope under the bed. That guy.
Like if you're dating somebody who let's just keep it real. Like, I mean, I'm just going off examples I've seen. If the person you're dating is a drug dealer, right? You got to know she is going to bring that up in court. If the person that you're dating has a ton of CPS cases open, you have to know that she is going to bring that up in court. So what I mean by that is I mean, you can date who you want to date. It's not my job or anybody's job to tell you who to date. I just want you to be cautious when you're going in here. Things that are completely irrelevant to child support will come up. And in your mind, you're thinking, oh, that's not relevant. That has nothing to do with this. But you got to remember that judge is a human being. They can't unhear information. So once they hear something, you never know how it impacts or may impact that particular decision that they're going to have to make in a case. When going back to what I said about posting on social media, Dennis said something. You said something, Dennis, about you posting pictures of your kids and, you know, y'all going on vacations and doing things like that. If you are a father who has had a history of not really supporting his kids financially, it may not be the best idea to talk about going to the club and making it rain, buying bottles, buying the sections, going to Miami, doing all of these different things. Because guess what? Mama is going to do a screenshot, send it to her lawyer, or she's going to keep it in her own personal belongings if she's representing herself, and she's going to bring it to the court. So in the court being the judge, and you just don't want all of your you want to be able to put your best foot forward when you walk in court. You don't want all of these things to be stacked up against you before you even open your mouth. So that's what I mean by making sure your closet is clean.
Judge, I mean, people just put all their business. You know what they had last night for dinner. You know what they drank at the club last week. You know who they dating. I mean, it's almost like, well, you know, you there are no secrets. We know you ain't not. We know you a bad parent because you putting all. We don't ever see your children with you, you know, and
Right.
so it's like I guess that impulse is being used against. But here's another question: how does it feel like? You know, think about it, Judge. You know, and you were litigated at first. You got all these people's problems on your mind. People trying to send you an email or a text message in the middle of the night. He won't let me pick the baby up, or something like. Oh, how do you deal with those family law matters? Like, I mean, like I can't do it. I much rather be there when a plant blows up. I'd rather be there, you know, dealing with somebody who has a busted back because of an 18-wheeler accident, because I can deal with that. What I can't deal with is 4 or 5 calls a week from the same person telling me what their baby daddy and baby mama ain't doing or are doing. I mean, how do you compartmentalize that and still live a life? You're a mom, you're a wife. How do you do that on a personal level?
On a personal note, I just do my best not to internalize whatever it is that other people are dealing with. I remind myself that that is their situation. Those are their kids. And I'm not a magician. I'm a lawyer. So the only thing I can do is within the legal realms of the law and trying to help you through your personal matter. I can't necessarily inherit whatever those feelings are, because the moment I start doing that, I'm not going to be the best litigator that I can be for your behalf. I pretty much become a witness in your case. You know what I mean? If you get that entangled in a case to where you're bringing those types of things home, you really have to step back and ask yourself, is it me? You know, like, am I the one really internalizing this? And you have to remind yourself, like, this has nothing to do with me. These are not my kids. This is not my house. These are not my retirement accounts. This is 100%, on my clients. I mean, granted, you get those late night phone calls or those early morning phone calls, and you get the email messages throughout the day. You get those emergency situations where you have to literally stop working on another case to go to that case, right? But it's a part of the job. And I just remember that it is the job. And I make sure that I spend time with my family, making sure I have their work-life balance. I exercise, I hang out with my friends and my family that mean a lot to me, because you really do have to decompress, because a lot of the things that I deal with some of my clients' cases, I haven't ever experienced these things personally, and probably won't ever will. So, and that's a good thing too, because it reminds me to stay grounded. It reminds me to always be empathetic and not make assumptions about people's lives, because it's not something that I've personally experienced.
You know, Judge, and here's the thing, like a lot of brothers will say this. They'll say a lot of these women, they feel like child support is not for the child, it's their money. It's almost like they have an entitlement to the money. You might meet some women, they don't spend any of the money on the child. He might be giving an arm and a leg and doing extra stuff for the child. How do you deal with women who are like, when you deal with them in your court? Because I can tell just by just how you interact with some of these ladies that appear in your court. It's like they feel entitled. Like, why should I have to pay? I gave birth to the baby. I'm the mama. The man's supposed to pay. Like, they seem not to understand how the law works. So, what is your personal impression of those women who come into your court feeling entitled to child, or they're appalled at the fact that they got to pay child support? Who do you think? I'm the woman. How do you feel about that? Like, as a woman, like, is it conflict? Like, because, like, I know you could kind of relate a little bit, because they are women, but, like, talk to us, Judge, because the fellas want to know. The fellas need to know. We all need to know. Go ahead.
I can't relate to that at all, because I think that both parents should take care of their kids, period. So when I come across a female that has to pay child support and she's been out of shape about it or something like that, as in terms of me representing them, and they're been out of shape about them, I'm very honest. If anybody in the chat knows me or anybody watching this, they could tell you, I tell her like it is. Look, you need to get over yourself, because if the roles were reversed, he would have to pay and you wouldn't have an issue with it. At the end of the day, this is what the situation is. This child lives with him. You need to get over it. The interesting part about the show is that, the show it's reenacting cases that have actually happened, but
Mhm.
a lot of the things that you all are seeing with the reenacting are true feelings of how some of these people thought
Yeah.
that Texas law worked. So when they get the response back from me based on Texas law, after it, they're like, man, I didn't know it went like that. I thought that, mainly men had to pay child support. I heard of women paying child support, but I thought it was if they were found to be bad mothers or unfit or something like that. And I'm like, no, the law is very straightforward about what it is when it comes to child support and who gets child support paid to them, who has to pay child support, as well as a tax credit. Because, a lot of parents have issue with that. I've seen a lot of women in particular have issues with that. Well, he got the stimulus check. He got money back from the tax returns. Well, he should, just like you should if the children were living with you. So quite frankly, I don't have any sympathy for women that feel like that have this sort of, entitlement, like I shouldn't have to pay child support because I'm a mother. I don't believe that. I have zero sympathy when it comes to that. Everybody should take care of their child, period.
Shout out to the lead attorney. He said, shout out to Uncle D helping Judge Vonda B to get the word out. First, Mr. Palmer, now D Sperling. Come on, Vonda. I'm next up to spread the word. Look, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Check this out.
You.
I got to make sure because my sometimes they will slide on me. If I ain't talking about like the latest rapper and what he did, they don't like to give me a shout out, pay anything to the Cash App, the PayPal, or the Super Chat. You guys make sure y'all contribute to the Cash App, the PayPal, or the Super Chat. But in the meantime, this is some statements from Haley Berry, right? Haley Berry says, it just, let's say her name wasn't Haley Berry, her name was Hal Berry. Hal Berry compares paying child support to her ex as extortion, right? Hal Berry wants her child support cut in half to $8,000. Hal Berry thinks spending child support money, thinks the ex is spending child support money on himself. So
it sounds like a lot of what the men say all the time about women.
Yeah. Now here's the crazy thing about it. Halle Berry is worth $90 million. Why is she complaining about that little money? You need to pay for that baby. That man is spending his life taking care of that baby. He's taking away from his social life, taking care of y'all's child. Okay, y'all made that baby together. See why? What is it that women can't see? A lot of women, and I'm asking you because men can say it all the time, but they don't think it's fair that they have to pay their portion of this child, especially even if they worth $90 million. I mean, make that make sense for me. We men have been paying it for years now. Now, we equal now. We equal. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you got your rights.
For the life of me, I can't make that make sense because at the end of the day, if a man is in the home caring for the children, obviously, sometime in most cases, more than some mothers, you should be willing to pay him child support. It wouldn't be any different if you had a nanny. You would pay that nanny to stay at home and take care of the baby. So what would be different for the man? And for me, quite frankly,
because he's a man, and he's supposed to be a man and not accept my child support money, Judge. He's a man.
I've heard that too. And at the end of the day, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. At the end of the day, he's a parent. Forget about what his gender is. He is a parent. And as a parent, you should have the support that you need to raise your child. Another thing that a lot of women get bent out of shape about is when parents have equal access, like they share that 50-50, and the woman makes a lot more money than the dad, and she has to pay child support, based on what's called an offset. Just for people out there, an offset is where the child support is calculated for the mother and it's calculated for the father. And you usually will see it on the split schedule, like a 50-50, where one parent has 1 week on, one 1 week off. So the courts will take both of the child support obligations and subtract them. And the difference is paid by the parent that makes more money. And in some cases, I've seen that be the mother. She is upset. She is pissed. I mean, I got the child just as much as he does. Why do I have to pay? And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. It would be no different if he paid. So, you know, unfortunately, a lot of my clients end up being males versus females because I'm not as sympathetic toward the females as they probably think I should be.
You supposed to be on their side. You a woman. You supposed to understand what I held that baby for 9 months in my womb and pushed him out.
Well,
I didn't even get the shot to kill the pain.
Guess what?
I can't believe that you would be on his side. You don't know what I've been through. He cheated on me, Judge. He cheated on me.
Exactly. And that brought me to my next point. It usually has nothing to do with the kids. It has everything to do with a previous relationship or hurt feelings or something like that. At the end of the day, I am a female, but I would like to consider myself pretty fair and tell it like it is. So if you look ridiculous or you're doing something ridiculous as your attorney, I should be able to tell you that because I want you to stop it there. I don't want you to get in court and get embarrassed because when the judge says it to you, then your feelings gonna be hurt, right? I would much rather you get it from me first because the blow is a little softer. Then you can kind of, you know, get your act together and get over yourself before you go in court in front of everybody, because that's something else that I do on my show. I make sure that all the litigants sit in the courtroom because I want people to have an accurate depiction of how courts really work in Texas. Everybody is sitting in the courtroom until their case is called. So you're going to want everybody in the courtroom, which now a lot of it streams live on YouTube, which is a bigger platform than a court, right? You want everybody to see you being petty, essentially. And you know, it's not worth it. So I just tell people like it is. I believe that me being a female, I should be able to tell you the truth and not sell you these false dreams and make you think that child support laws in Texas are gender biased, because that's not true.
Hey, you know what, Judge? You hitting it home. You hitting it home. Look, I got to talk to the congregation real. If y'all want me, I'm gonna turn this into a members only chat unless y'all start donating to the Cash App, the PayPal, or the Super Chat. Do you want me to turn this into a members only? Because I'll do that. And I'll leave y'all left out. You won't be able to make a comment. If contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Also hit the #1 button if you appreciate what I'm doing, because I know Uncle D got the brothers back. I love you, brothers. I want to see you. I'm your advocate. Even when you're dead wrong, I find a way to advocate on your behalf. Some of y'all are wrong. There's two left shoes going right, but I'm still your advocate. But what I like to do is bring beautiful, wonderful, intelligent sisters like this, because I have a record of bringing like the best of the best out here. Like, I don't get the sisters. If you out here twerking on the internet, you're probably not going to be on Dennis Sperling Unfiltered. But if you have this groundbreaking show, if you have this sort of intelligence, I want these black men to hear it, because there's so much animosity right now. And a lot of it has to do with the child support system and the family law system, and the brothers are just angry and the women are mad at each other. And so when I bring sisters like yourself or people, professionals especially like this, onto the show, it gives them hope. Like, oh, there are women out there who you know, who I can relate to. They're out there. They just ain't talking to you. Okay, they don't want to talk to you because they see you as the ignorant half of those lovely ladies out there that are being ignorant. But in the meantime, Judge, look, I want to talk a little bit about Texas law, right? And what separates Texas. I love Texas. Okay. And my future fiance ain't here right now, so I can say what I want to say. Okay, just in case. Not that I'm saying our relationship is gonna fail anything, but what I'm saying is we have something called caps in the great state of Texas. Caps on child support. And I believe they called it the golden baby rule that the red side of the aisle put in the books. Can you explain to them a little bit about what child support caps are and how they play out here in Texas, as opposed to somewhere like New York or California? Go ahead and give it to them.
Definitely. So for people that make and they just recently changed this law, like I want to say back in 2019, September of 2019. So when Dennis is referring to the cap, it goes up to $9,200 of your net resources. So wait a minute, let me back up before I get there. Let's talk about what net resources are, because I hear this all the time. Why is my overtime included in my child support? Why is this included in my child support? That's inconsistent pay. I only got a bonus one time. It doesn't matter. All income or fair game in terms of calculating child support. I want to make sure that everybody understands that. So with that being said, the first $9,200 of your net resources, that's where it's caps. Why is that important? What does that mean? So let's take your football player. Let's say someone plays for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Well, we know they're making millions of dollars on a contract, right? If they have a baby and the mother, is like, hey, I'm gonna go put him on child support, guess what? His child support is going to cap at that $9,200 level. So what do I mean by that? His net resources is $9,200. So his child support is not going to be $2,000-$3,000. It's not. Matter of fact, the best example of this is Chris Brown. Chris Brown has a child support case. Chris Brown has a child support case out of Houston, Texas. That mother in particular thought that she was entitled to all of what Chris Brown was worth because she has this child by him. If I'm not mistaken, and I mean, Dennis can correct me, and matter of fact, you guys can look it up yourself, it's public record. If I'm not mistaken, she only get $2,300 a month in child support.
That's all she gets.
That's all she gets. And because he is protected under that cap.
What the judge is referring to is Chris Brown had a woman here in the great state of Texas. She apparently got pregnant here in the great state of Texas. He was living in California. So what he did was he was the first one to file. He filed in Houston, Harris County Family Court, which gave that court jurisdiction. He said, well, this is where the baby at. This is what we're going to do. We're going to deal with it right here. And so she tried and she tried to get that case dismissed so she could instantaneously refile it out there in Los Angeles County. Amen. But Chris said, no, miss, you're going to get this little $2,000, whatever I'm going to give you, and we're going to move around. So that's basically what she did. And see, once the court has jurisdiction, because the child lives in Texas, the Texas court has jurisdiction over the child. And because Chris Brown availed himself of the state of Texas, it has jurisdiction over how much he pays. Normally, and correct me if I'm wrong, Judge, I believe it's under the child support system, whatever. Sometimes the court, the form state or the state where the child lives has custody jurisdiction. And then the state where the father lives has jurisdiction over child support. They can be separated because, like in the state of Texas, a person who lives in Texas, and I'm not speaking from my own personal opinion, of course, but let's say hypothetically, your baby mama, not me, of course not me, but let's say your baby mama went to California to try to have that baby. But what you did was you filed in, I don't know, let's pick a place, Fort Bend County, Texas, and then you served her in California while she was there for Christmas. And then now the Fort Bend County Court has jurisdiction and you file for paternity and stuff. Well, see, you live here. So she can't increase the child support because she's in California. This court has jurisdiction over you and the court has established paternity over here. Now she can move to another state, like I'm just speaking hypothetically, not me, of course. But she could like move to Florida and move that baby there to Florida and, you know, all that. The court there in Florida has jurisdiction over the baby and the custody agreement, like when you can see him, when you can pick him up, all that. But the court in Texas will maintain jurisdiction over that child support money because that's where you live. So you're always subject to that cap. Now, Judge, they don't like that. They don't want to come to the gold diggers. Ain't trying to come to Texas. They don't want none of that. Why you think Deion Sanders is still here? You see what he did? He waited till his that boy turned 18, then he moved over there to Mississippi, taught him to take this coaching job. They don't understand. Go ahead, talk to him a little bit more. Go ahead, talk to him. Go ahead, tell him. Go ahead. I'm not talking about my own personal experience or anything, because I would, I always, I'm free. I'm simping when it comes. Here you go, baby. Get that child support, baby. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But go on here, get your free mink, and you and your boyfriend, y'all have a good. I'm free giving most of the time. I ain't talking about me. But anyway, Tell me, I'm sorry about that.
I would just tell people to not try to live off of child support. Like, that's not the goal of child support. The goal of child support is to provide financial assistance, whatever they may be, for the needs of their child. So if it's for the child when it comes to their health needs, because as you know, a lot of kids deal with mental health issues. You have children that ADHD. Some children need to, have therapy, such as play therapy, behavior therapy. Some kids have, dental issues that are really expensive, physical disabilities that require special attention. They need more tutoring or something in education, all of those type of things. There are so many things that the child needs that no parent, male or female, should depend on that child support money to do, other things with it. Go out of town, get your hair done, get your nails done. Because these are things I've heard, right? She getting her nails done with that money. She getting her hair done with that money. She paying the light bill with that money and stuff like that. I will say though, when it comes to certain needs that it is arguable when it comes to me on certain things. So if 1 month she needed that money, let's say the light bill, I'll give you a prime example. Remember when the power and everything went out here in Texas? A lot of people's light bills and water bills like tripled and quadrupled. So if for that month she had to use the child support payment to cover that bill, I don't think nothing was wrong with that. Now should every month she allocate all of the money that is supposed to go to the child to household bills and certain bills that she may have? Not necessarily. But when it comes into certain situations, groceries and stuff, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I don't like child support abuse. When you see child support abuse, that's where the issues come. When somebody is actually rubbing it in the other person's face, what they're doing with their money. And, I've seen it happen. I don't need your money. But then on one hand, you're saying, oh, well, I do this with it, or whatever the case may be. And it has nothing to do with the child. That's where I think the bitterness comes in when it comes to men in particular. And I can't necessarily say I blame them, because in certain situations, if you're not going to do right by the child in all facets, that is in terms of their education, in terms of their health, in terms of the psychological needs, when it comes to them spending time with their other parent, having a relationship with their other parent, because parental alienation is big too, right? Where, turning a child against one parent, all of that kind of stuff. If you're not going to do right in all facets when it comes to the child, let that child go live with its other parent. You do right by the child at the end of the day.
Shout out to Face Facts. He said the laws are not biased, but people who enforce the laws are biased. And the process to hold those actions accountable are extremely difficult. Big shout out to Mr.
I cannot disagree with him. I cannot disagree with him at all. Because we appoint we elect our judges, right? And our elected officials to uphold these laws. But when we get to the point to where our elected officials are abusing that position for whatever reason, which is part of the reason why I'm currently running for judge in Dallas County, something has to be done about that. We cannot afford to have people on the bench that are not doing what's in the best interest of the children, but merely doing based on how they feel that day. So you woke up mad at your husband or your significant other or your kids. So because you're feeling a certain type of way about your personal situation, that means the people that come in front of you have to catch the brunt of whatever it is that you're going through, or whatever it is you've been through. Dennis, you said you were embroiled in litigation right now. That would be fair to your client.
Ex-wife that I would never have anything bad to say about. Who she and I currently have a television show called Co-Parenting with the Sperlings. Is airing
and I have seen it, and it is hilarious, and I love it. Just think if you were a judge and what you're going through, you took that out on the people that are sitting in front of you. That's terrifying to even think, that you could possibly, if you're the dad in custody of your child, you can lose custody of your child that day because let's say the female judge is mad. Yeah, it's not right.
It is not right. Look, I want to make sure I give a shout out to Jamin J. I think I gave a shout out to Mr. Palmer. Oh, that's my dude. Mr. Palmer keeps it real. That baby mama terrorist is real stuff out there, man. But look,
Yeah.
you guys appreciate what we're doing. Contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Don't make me run another one of these boring lawyer commercials. You know what? I'm gonna run a boring lawyer commercial. It's already been approved by the State Bar Association, so it's cool. Judge, give me a minute. We'll be right back. Cause see, I have to do this to them to coax them to give me my $4, $5, $10. I'm not, don't waste my time. I usually get $500 an hour. I'm doing this as a service. Anyway, y'all make sure y'all contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. We'll be right back with Judge Vonda B, and we're going to talk about Texas residency restrictions, which I think is a good idea. We'll be right back.
Dramatization. Bad drivers cause car wrecks. Not paying attention to the road, operating electronic devices, and drinking while driving can lead to serious injuries. If you've been the victim of a bad driver, a trial lawyer may be able to help you recover money to pay your medical bills, reimburse you for lost wages, and compensate you for the pain caused by your injuries. If you, your friends, or family have been injured in a car wreck, contact me, Attorney Dennis Sperling, toll free, 866-529-2444. I'm here to help.
Hey, man.
I don't want nothing.
Oh, okay, girl. He back, so I call you back.
He back. He back. He here. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Judge. You take your little personal call. Okay, cool. But anyway, look. Hey, you guys, if you appreciate what I'm doing here, make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Okay, like I take time. I get good, high quality people here. Y'all see, I got my tie on today, so that means we got somebody important on the show. All right, y'all make sure y'all contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. The link to the PayPal is right down here at the bottom. It's the first, it's the third. I got to make my child support payments, and I need y'all to help me with that. Okay, I need y'all to help me contribute to my payments. Either way, I appreciate what you guys are doing. But Judge, again, unique to Texas, I believe, is something called the residency restriction. And basically and you can go ahead and explain it if you want to, but basically, because I don't practice family law, I know about it, okay? Because what it does is it prevents the child's mom or dad from running off to another state with their new lover or girlfriend or boyfriend or husband. And so what it does is protects the integrity of that relationship with the other parent, the non-custodial parent. Explain that, and what kind of pushback have you received from some of these folks who end up, you mean I can't never leave him? That was the whole point. What kind of, explain to them what the practical effect that is in the practice of law and some of the responses you're getting for some of your clients. Go ahead.
Okay, so first off, in Texas, it's called, what we put in the orders is referred to as a geographic restriction. And you're spot on, Dennis. The intent behind the court is to make sure that the familiar relationships stay intact, right? So parents, non-custodial parents have access to the children a certain amount of time. The courts want to make sure that that relationship isn't, essentially damaged because one parent decides to just up and move. So you will see what's called geographic restrictions. That's where it restricts the primary parent, which is also known as the custodial parent, restricts their residence to a certain geographic location. Here in Dallas County, you will see some that say Dallas County. If you see one that says Dallas County, in my opinion, those are a little bit more restrictive. And usually when you see those, the child is probably really young. Like you will see it with children that are under the age of 1, because you want to maintain as much frequent contact as possible with the newborn baby, right? Yeah. But then you will also see them say Dallas and contiguous counties. Contiguous means any county that touches Dallas. So when you think about that, that within itself is kind of scary because Dallas is a huge county. Denton County touches Dallas, Ellis County, Kaufman County, Tarrant County. So mom really could, if she wanted to be spiteful, right, she could really move to the furthest edge of the county that's about an hour and a half away from you if she wanted to, right? Wow. And so when it comes to geographic restrictions, the goal is to make sure that the parent doesn't just get to leave on their own. Well, as you all have heard, that has happened. Parents violate geographic restrictions all the time.
Vonda, what is my recourse when someone does this? The first thing I would tell someone to do, because let me just say, if you have a geographic restriction in your court order, before you can move to a county that's outside of that geographic restriction, you must get permission from the court. Yes, I will say that again. I have to ask the court, can I move to Harris County? Yes, you do, because Harris County, if your order says Dallas and contiguous, Harris County doesn't touch Dallas County. It's at least 4 hours away. So you do have to call and get permission. Well, in the event a parent violates the geographic restriction, the first thing I would advise a parent to do is to hire an attorney, move fast. Why is it imperative that you move fast? After a child has been away from a state for 6 months, they lose that home state. Well, what do you mean by that, Vonda? If or home state or county, right? So if a child that lived in Dallas is relocated, let's say I see someone in the chat said something about Florida. The child is relocated to Florida. If that child remains in Florida for 6 months, guess what? Texas is no longer that child's home state. That child's home state is in Florida. Same thing county to county. If the child, and it's not 6 months in the county, right? You're talking about 90 days. So if a child remains out of a county for like I said, 90 days or even 6 months, that happens, guess what? You're going to have to file a possession, modification suit or whatever the case may be in that new county, because the chances are the judge in that existing county is not probably going to make mom come back or dad come back, especially if they move for good reason. Because you'll hear people say, well, it was my job, I had to move. I married my spouse that was deployed during the military, and they ended up having to go to this different place. Courts understand that happens, but you still have to take into consideration that other parent and ask for permission. And something that I've seen that is very common, another thing that men fall short on, some of these women actually tell the dads they're going to move. And they tell them exactly where they're going to move, not necessarily their address. They say, oh, I'm going to move to North Carolina, or I'm moving to California. Oh, I'm moving to El Paso. Be what is the word? Be reactive to that. Don't wait until she moves. Find something in court before she does it. Because that way you don't have to worry about looking for her. Because let me tell you something. If you can get in court immediately after she moves or before she moves, guess what some of these judges in Texas are doing, especially these more conservative counties? They are not only making her come back, they are letting her live in the place that she moved to, but they're making that child remain in that county. So make sure you're being very, very responsive to that. Don't just let it fall on deaf ears.
I'm going to give you guys a story, and I wrote about this in my book. My lovely, wonderful, fabulous child's mother got pregnant here. At least that's what was alleged, here in the great state of Texas, and then moved to California. And so before the child was even born, I had filed suit and served her with a petition to establish paternity. Now, why did I do that? I knew it was going to at least take 6-7 months for us to get in court. So by the time the baby was born, the case would be primed for her to have to come back here. Now, they would say normally, oh, it's premature, the child isn't born, how can you? But see, I could argue in good faith that we have tests now that can determine paternity even while the child is in vitro, which means still inside. So the thing is, fellas, what I'm telling you guys is, oftentimes, if you're the first one to file, you're going to have an advantage. Because what you don't want to do, fellas, this is the thing you don't want to do. You don't want to let 4 or 5 years go by and you've been giving her $50 here, $100 here in cash, paying little toys and stuff right here. And then she hits you for back child support for 4 or 5 years on top of the future child support. Judge, would you like to talk about arrears and how that happens and how she suckers these dudes? And yeah, I'll take that. I ain't gonna take you to court. Then 10 years go by and 50, better yet, the child is 27, and she come back and get back child support for all them years. Explain that, because dude, they just don't. You 89 still paying child support for a child that's 53. We got it. We got a guy like that. Can you explain that trap for me, please? Being a sucker, I would call that being a sucker. You shouldn't have believed it. And if I'm the judge, look, you shouldn't have believed. You was the dummy that believed it. Pay that money and get out of my courtroom. They don't want me to be the family law judge. I paid my child support. You need to pay yours, sir. All right, get on out of here. Go ahead.
So let me just say this. I don't know for the life of me why men are so
gullible and stupid. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Go ahead. I didn't mean to say that.
And I'm not going to call them stupid. You can say that.
I tell them all the time they're too damn nice. They too nice.
You know what?
Soft,
I think
like a big cotton swab. Uncle D has told them all. I've been telling them for about a month or two. You're too nice. You need to embrace being the bad guy, if that's what you call it. If it means asserting your rights, looking out for you, stop being simps. That your woman is playing you like the sucker that you are, and then you come in here complaining 5 years later that your damn child support payment is too high and you paying arrearages, but y'all been giving her money though. I've been paying and doing all that, and now you whining and crying to me. I don't want to hear it. Okay, because you did it. But go ahead. Let me turn this way and look. Go ahead. It's on you, Judge. Go ahead.
I will say I don't understand when it comes to child support in particular why men are so nice to us. And I'm saying us because I'm still a female, right? That don't necessarily I agree with everything.
They still messing around, and they trying to be they still messing around. That's what's happening.
Well, and I'm going to touch on that too. Because I've seen it never ends well for the guy.
No,
right? So what I want to say to the fellas is this.
Talk to them.
If you feel the need to want to give your child's mother money for your child, you need to do a couple of things. If you're not ready just yet, right, to go to the attorney general, I'm not trying to put them people in my business. I don't want the state in my business. I don't want them to garnish my money. I totally respect that. There are some things you can do. First off, any county that you are in most counties in Texas, they will allow you to create a registry with the court. What is that? That is where you can send in payments to the court. They will document it as a record, right? I mean, I'm sorry. You'll send in payments to mom. You'll send her payments like you normally do, but you would make sure you're documenting it with the court. So then if child support does come back later, you have a piece of paper with the great seal. I mean, the seal from the great state of Texas on it, showing the date that you gave the money, how much you did it, right? So then that way you are protecting yourself. If you don't feel like going that route, then you can also do a cashier's check, do a money order. You can even do cash out because everybody's using cash out. But you must on your memo write child support. You cannot leave that memo line blank. Why can you not leave that memo line blank? Because it's a gift. That's what it's considered. If it does not show child support, guess what? The court looks at it as you just giving the mama money.
You're a generous man.
You need to make sure that it says for child support. So the court understands that you sent her this money specifically for the support of the child. Another thing, fellas, I get it. You want to play nice. And I've had clients where they still do, are intimate with the mothers of their children.
And she using it as a weapon of control against your dumb behind. And now you in court there, that's my baby. And then you get hammered. And then next thing you know, 2 months later, she done moved on and got your child support and all that stuff that she was nice enough to give to her. And then you sour and mad on the internet complaining about how my baby mama do. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You heard me talk to you. Go ahead. You got them. I'm going to look this way now. Go ahead, Judge. Talk to them. They don't want to hear me.
My thing is, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. You do what you want to do. But if you're going to play those games, you just need to make sure that you're playing in front of the 8 ball and not behind it. Because when it blows up, It's not pretty. And the court doesn't care that you all were still having intimate relationships or anything like that. They do care if while y'all were having that intimate relationship that y'all were still living together. That matters, because if the child is living with you and mom under the same roof, you shouldn't owe any child support at the moment, you know, prior to you guys breaking up. But just be careful of that, fellas. Make sure that you're protecting yourselves in the court in terms of getting documentation of the payments that you are making to the mothers, because the moment you and mom stop living together, child support clock starts ticking. Literally, it starts ticking. If it takes you 8 months to get in court and the child hasn't been living with you, guess what? You're already in arrears before you even get to court.
Oh,
So
Judge.
let's do, and I mean, we can do some calculations here. Let's say your child support end up being $500 a month times 8 months. You're already in the hole $4,000.
And you got to pay the child support that you owe moving forward. You're
going to have a child support obligation moving forward, as well as the arrears. Now, how does arrears work? The arrears, pretty much whatever your child support calculation comes out to be moving forward, you're going to be, that's going to also be calculated from the time that the child stopped living with you or from the time of the child's birth. And it goes back 4 years. So if a child was just born in 2020.
Explain that part. We need you to explain. Back 4 years. Hold on a minute. Explain that, Judge. We need to know.
Yeah. So if a child is 9 years old, right? If a child is 9 years old and mom decides to put you on child support when the child turns 9, instead of going back to the date that the child was born, they look back into those previous 4 years. And this is the law, guys. This is not me making it up. It looks back into the child support obligation for 4 years. Well, what does that mean for you? Let me explain it to you. If you back then had a lower paying job that didn't pay much at all, right? They're going to calculate that your child support obligation for those specific months in those 4 years that you had that job. And the job you have currently that pays a lot more. So your arrears is not only going to be the amount from back then, it's also going to include the amount that you have currently. So that's why it is important, fellas. If you are going to have a child support obligation, it is imperative that you start giving money, child support, to the mother from the time that child is born. And you know what? It's not a bad idea to even start helping with some of the medical bills. Well, why do you say that, Vonda? The baby not here yet. Guess what? You can also have that pay for prenatal and postnatal care, because that child is yours. And according to the law, the law literally says, and I'm going to paraphrase it for you. The law says, if you slept with somebody, right, there's a probability it could be your child. So you have a child support obligation right off the bat. So that means that if you know, not the ones that don't, even if you don't know, I understand, right? But if you know that this is your child, go ahead and start putting money to the side to make sure you can cover half of whatever her prenatal and postnatal amount is going to be. Because men, it happens all the time. You get one judgment for back medical, which includes the prenatal care, postnatal care, 50% of whatever the health insurance costs that mom has incurred for the child, right? Since the child been living. But then you also have a judgment for child support. You have 2 different judgments on you. So you literally, like I said, using that $500 example, let's just say you're in arrears on medical for $4,000. You got child support arrears in $4,000, medical arrears in $4,000. You got $8,000 in arrears right there. That quick.
See, Judge, and see, let me tell you something. See, I got a lot of guys here. We travel overseas. I like to travel overseas and party and hang out. See, some of them think they can escape this child support system. Let state-sponsored robbery, SYSB, which means save yourself, black men, have children out of the U.S. That ain't gonna work. Because let
It's
me tell
not.
you something. All she got to do is buenos días. Yo necesito abogado de los Estados Unidos, por favor, porque yo tengo niño aquí de americano as un padre. What that means is all she needs to do is make one phone call to Chicago, Nueva York, Miami, Texas, wherever you are, wherever you at, okay? She get that lawyer and she's going to get child support from you. See, as long as your behind is in the United States and you got a baby somewhere, the judge can still order you to take the paternity test and pay for it. And they may force you to pay child support until you prove that that baby ain't your child. You see what I'm saying?
And that is very possible.
They gonna look, Judge. They going down to Colombia. Let me tell you where they going. They going to Colombia. They going to Costa Rica. Where else are they going? They going
heard
to
that other one. What is it? Venezuela. I've heard
they going
of
to
that
Venezuela.
one.
They making babies down there and running and leaving them kids. I'm gonna give you a little something on PayPal.
Wait a minute,
I'll pay you a little
Dennis.
something, Western Union.
You have a comment. You have a comment over here that I want to draw some attention to.
Which one?
Because it's inaccurate, and I want to make sure that guys understand this. It's by Eric Jones. It says child support is not based on law. It only becomes legally binding when you sign a paternity acknowledgement.
Oh no, sir.
That is it, guys. Let me say something about the acknowledgement of paternity. Do not ever sign that without first getting a DNA test. Ever. Do not do it. What is an acknowledgement of paternity? It's also referred to as an AOP. Usually it's signed at the hospital after a child is born.
Don't do it.
An AOP is what makes you legally responsible for a child. So even if you find out later that that child does not belong to you, guess what? You can still be on the hook for child support.
Yes.
What I want to address about it is that he's saying child support is not based on law. It only becomes legal binding when you sign something. That's not true.
That's not true.
I just had a scenario like this on support court. If the court orders you to do a DNA test and you don't submit to it, if you say I'm not submitting to it because the court has no jurisdiction to me, child support is not law, guess what the judge is going to do? They are going to do a default and name you the father of that child, and they're going to put you on child support anyway. So I get it, guys. A lot of guys, they don't like child support. You hate the system because of personal reasons or whatever you believe the laws out there say about child support. But my goal is not trying to make you like child support. That's not my goal. My goal is to educate you that child support is not going anywhere. And if you're going to have to deal with it, at least know your rights and know what you're up against and know the things that you need to do. So when it's time for you to go to court, you can at least protect yourself.
And see, fellas, what you don't understand is let me help y'all understand. Either you pay for your baby or the state has to pay for your baby. And see, the state means all of us taxpayers. So the judge is saying, look, if you're not the father, then take the paternity test and prove you're not and do it within, I believe, a 2-year time period. And there's like 30% of men. There was a study in the UK that says about 30% of men are paying for child support for children that aren't even theirs for whatever reasons. Either they let the time to modify or challenge paternity elapse, and so they didn't get it in there. And so, now you stuck 18 years and you mad. It ain't my baby. You know what? I love her. This is my child. I don't care if it ain't my baby. I'm gonna be your daddy. You that was on your mind. You know what I'm saying? Well, then you get what you deserve. If you're gonna be a sucker, look, nobody owes you anything, fellas. I'm trying to tell y'all, man. You've heard Judge Vonda B. And Judge, I ain't gonna hold you up too much longer because I know you have a busy day. But we've hit on the subject of brothers having children overseas and thinking they can run. You can't run because all she needs to do is hit that WhatsApp and find her a lawyer, and you done. Matter of fact, I think states like Florida and Florida and New York have a special agreement with the Dominican Republic itself. So they already got it set up. They're gonna get the money. Okay. Even if she's in another country and you're here, if you're an American citizen, you're subject to that child support. Now, I want to hit another subject before we leave, Judge, and I appreciate, look, you guys appreciate what we're doing, contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. What about over-enforcement of agreements? Okay, so you got that 2 weekends a month, and the thing is, you want to sometimes pick your child up at school, and your baby mama sends the copy of the agreement to the courthouse, to the principal, say you can't even pick the children up from school. How do you feel about like over enforcement of it? Like, you supposed to be here at 6. If it's 6:01 and you're not here, I'm leaving. You see what I'm saying? Like, what do you think about that? And explain to them what that means in terms, because you're a family law lawyer, I'm not, but explain to them what that means.
I think it's petty. I think it's more damaging to the children when you do that. So what he's explaining is, in Texas, typically in your standard possession schedules, the non-custodial parent gets that first, third, and fifth weekend, and it usually starts on that Friday that starts off the first, third, and fifth weekend at 6 p.m. and it ends Sunday at 6 p.m. You rotate holidays. You get to see the child 2 hours for their birthday, all those types of things, right? So if the order says 6 p.m. and the parent is like, if you're not here at 6:01, I'm leaving. Well, first of all, judges aren't even going to hold that against them if they're not there at 6:01. Most judges give a grace period of 15 minutes because they understand that emergencies happen, traffic is going on, people have to maybe stay later at work than normal. A number of things can happen. So that's petty. And then as far as sending it to the principal, unless it's a situation where the parent has placed that child in some sort of danger, I don't see a reason why a parent couldn't go to school and have lunch with their child, or, maybe sit in on their child's class or whatever. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is, and this goes for all parents. I'm speaking as a parent. You want to raise your children to be healthy members of society. And the only way that they can be healthy members of society is if their parents have a healthy co-parenting relationship, if both parents are in their lives, right? And that's never going to be healthy, to tell another parent, you can't do this or you can't do that when it comes down to being there for their child. I just don't think it's right. And like I said, I just think it's petty. When I hear it, it's very disheartening. It's a lot of cases I turn down and won't represent people because in a consultation, it's obvious that what they want me to do is very petty. And I just refuse to do that because ultimately, at the end of the day, I have to reappear in front of those judges that I'm bringing this case in front of. I have to reappear with some of these colleagues that I'm going up against. So I'm not going to make myself look bad and give myself a reputation as an attorney that just takes anything to court, even if it's petty, for the sake of making money. I turn down money all the time. All money is not good money. So if you're that type of parent that wants to get back at the other parent and you want to be petty and want to limit how they can parent their child, I'm not the right attorney for you.
All right. Well, Judge, thank you so much. Look, how do you guys now recognize this resources out here, and then you don't go binge watch Support Court with Judge Vonda B? The link is in the chat room. I've also put it in the description under Support Court with Judge Vonda B. Check it out on YouTube. This is good stuff. This is how the public educates themselves. This is how you become more a student of your world. You got kids. I love my children, and there's nothing I won't do to protect my children and be with my children in their life. I thank God that I was smart enough to put myself on child support, because you know what? After the first, what you need more money. Did you get your payment from the state? You don't need to call me. You need to call. You get your next one next month. I don't have to have those arguments. I pick my children up. I take them home. I don't bother nobody. I do the very best I can, and I also do more for my kids, because actually, child support is the minimum amount that you can pay. Hey man, it's the minimum amount, and you should want to do more for your kids. But either way, how can we get in contact? Because I know you also have a family law practice out of Dallas. Can you please tell these good folks who are in the Dallas area? I don't know if you go outside of the Dallas area, but tell them how they can get in contact with you if they need a family law lawyer in the Dallas area of Texas, something like that. I'm sure they appreciate it. Because they want to hear that you're fair. Because see, a lot of these brothers, they're afraid to go to family law lawyers who are women because they think they're going to be biased in favor of women. Well, clearly you are not. And they want to be able to have somebody like you they can talk to. How do they get in contact with
My office number is located in Duncanville. We're not doing in-person consultations, you know, obviously because of COVID and making sure we work through these vaccinations and everything like that. But our office number is 214-732-9429. You can reach us there. That's on our cell phone. That's the best way to reach us for the most part, because we're in and out of the office. And we also can schedule consultations by email. You can send your email to vondabaileylaw@outlook.com. Just know consultations are not free. I want to make sure that I tell people that they're not free. They're $325 for up to an hour. So if you talk up to 20 minutes and that's all you have, you still pay $325 regardless. I want to make sure, you know, I'm honest about that. For the most part, anybody that knows me, and I hope from what you can see here, I'm transparent. I tell people the truth because I don't want you to call my office thinking one thing and you hear something else. It's $325 for up to an hour. I'm going to tell you the truth in terms of what the law says about child support in Texas. If you have custody law questions, you will get the truth about that, as well as divorces.
I got one more question that I probably should have asked it earlier. And this is something that always comes up. What do you do if you're the good dad and you're paying child support, but your baby mama, she got 2 or 3 other kids by 2 or 3 other dudes, and none of them are paying child support. And so she's basically using your money to support all the other kids. Have you ever run across that situation? Or is there something you can, do about it? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because this is something that happened now, because you got a lot of ladies who have children outside with other men. What are your thoughts on that? If you can, hit it real quick, Judge.
Well, I don't get involved in it. That's not a question I can really answer, because I'm not going to tell somebody what to do with the money that's coming into their household, because I don't think it's fair for me to do that. And I don't think it's fair for anybody to do it, because unless you live in someone's household, you don't necessarily know truly what their situation looks like. You know, on Facebook and social media, we can portray to be whoever we want to be, right? But when you're inside those 4 walls, you know how your situation is. So, you know, rarely do I have somebody come in my office saying that I'm using this money on my other kids or whatever the case may be. Most people aren't that transparent. And if they were, I really wouldn't have any feedback for them as far as them being right or wrong, because again, I can't tell somebody what to do in their particular situations, especially when it's involving other children within the household.
Yeah, so basically, if you're dating a woman with kids already, so you might end up paying for you're going to be everybody's daddy. It could happen. But either way, thank you so much, Judge. I appreciate your time. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. Somebody in the chat said you need a part 2.
Yeah, they want a part 2.
Rich
You know
Cliff,
what? They didn't pay me enough money, okay? They did not pay me enough money, y'all playing. You got 2 lawyers here talking to y'all, okay? Y'all cheat, okay? What y'all want to do is y'all want me to sit up here and talk about Cardi B and show some twerking videos, and then y'all pay them people for the educated stuff. Y'all don't want to hear this. Y'all don't want to hear it, so I'm going to go ahead and let them slide. But Judge, if you have time at your own leisure, okay, we will see if we can reschedule you for my little cheap little crowd right here, okay? But thank you so much. I humbly appreciate what you're doing.
You're welcome.
Great work. I am definitely a fan. I think you have so many new fans. Y'all make sure y'all check out Support Court with Judge Vonda B. This is hilarious. This is good stuff. It's educational. It's like being in a family law class back when I was in law school in ancient times. This is just some good stuff. It's educational. It lets you know, hey, look, you know, if you do it the right way, you can get a fair shot. But if you wait too late, boy, that's going to be your problem. But you got to come in and you got to know what you're talking about. You got to be using common sense. You can't be trying to double talk because the judge is in and she is not going for it. But either way, you guys, thank you all so much. Thank you, Judge. Hey, if you appreciated VondaB, y'all make sure y'all hit the #1 button. Give her props, man. But in the meantime, man, this is Uncle D, man. I love you guys. And as I always said this time, I'm out.
Thank you.
All right.